Hey guys, I have a lot of notes to go over, so I might be looking at this notebook as I go along because I got a lot to say. First, I want to get all the major negatives out of the way, and they're not that big of a negatives, but I want to get them out of the way so I can concentrate on the positive because there's a lot of positives. Now, my first negative, I want to get it out of the way because it doesn't pertain entirely to Elseworlds. It's more of a complaint of the current 5th season of The Flash. I've been holding this in for a long time, and I just gotta get it out of my system. I fucking hate The Flash's new costume. I hate it, hate it, hate it. It looks hideous. It's too red. It hurts my eyes to look at it. It's so bright that no matter what actor's wearing it, which actor is wearing it, they completely lose definition. They just look like a red, flat blur. Grant Gustin and Stephen Amell are in impeccable physical shape, okay? And their muscles, the definition of their body, completely erased when they get into that costume, which is insane, especially with Stephen Amell, because one of the most handsome motherfuckers on the planet. You put him in that costume, he looks terrible. The mask, they took one of the best parts of the mask off, which was the chin. You know, Barry Allen looks like this skinny, nerdy guy. He gets into the suit, and suddenly he looks more heroic. He has a really cool brow. He has that chin. They took that off, and the poor guy looks like he has a light bulb for a head and a turkey neck. He just looks skinny as hell. It's just an ugly, ugly, ugly ass costume. Whoever puts it on, they look like they have a dome head. I hope that it's more comfortable, I hope that it's easier to put on, but I sincerely doubt it. The original costume was designed by Colleen Atwood, okay? She is the premier costume designer for superheroes in both movies and TV shows. Look her up. She designed Arrow's original costume, The Flash's original costume for this, and Supergirl's original costume. And she was even slated to design Nicolas Cage's Superman costume for the Tim Burton movie that was never made. So she's the real-life Edna Mode from The Incredibles. Anyway, so they took her design from one of the absolute best people that designs real-life superhero costumes. They threw that out and brought this in. And it sucks. It looks like something that was created by a fan, as opposed to a professional production designer who understands photography and understands what this is going to look like on camera. So I hope that when Season 5 of The Flash ends, he takes that horrible, ugly, goddamn costume, stuffs it back into that ring, gives the ring to Nora, and sends it back to the fucking future where we never have to look at it again. Whew. There, got it out of my system. The end. Alright? Jesus. Alright, so let's talk about Elseworlds. Alright? So again, a few negatives, but not too negative. Not as negative as what I just spoke about. So, yeah, the crossover this year, not as good as the one from last year, Crisis on Earth X. Crisis on Earth X is the greatest, the absolute best. It even rivals a lot of superhero movies. It is that damn good. But not bad. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't as good as last year's. Two things that set back or Elseworlds when comparing it to the other crossovers that they've done. Number one, it was a backdoor pilot to two other potential CW shows, Batwoman and Superman, the prospect of which sounds amazing. I would love to see those shows, but it felt a little bit uncomfortable that they were servicing or establishing storylines or launching pads for these potential shows. It just felt uncomfortable. To me, the crossovers are about celebrating the established heroes. Arrow, Flash, Supergirl. And the fact that they were taking all these side steps to establish and hopefully give these other characters their own shows felt a little uncomfortable, but I accepted it, because I like those characters a lot. They tried to do this before, and it sucked, okay? They tried to do it during the Legends of Yesterday crossover, which was a launching pad or a backdoor pilot for Legends of Tomorrow. And that sucked. That was just such a transparent, shitty attempt at setting up this other show. And as I've said many times before, the first season of Legends was god-awful. So it made it double even more painful to sit through that crossover knowing that it was just a setup for this other show that ended up, the first season ended up stinking. The current seasons, from season 2 onward of Legends, are amazing. Check those out. Anyway, so first it was a backdoor pilot to all these other shows, and then at the very end it turns out that they Fellowship of the Ring us. The whole thing turned out to be a massive elaborate setup for the crossover for next year. Like, you know how the Fellowship of the Ring is like a 3-hour setup for the last 2 movies, as opposed to one, you know, beginning, middle, and end story by itself? No, it's just one elaborate, ongoing, 3-hour sequence of exposition for the last 2 Lord of the Rings movies. You watch Fellowship of the Ring, you're all set up. You know everything you need to know about the mythology, and you can enjoy the last 2 films, but it's fucking 3 hours. Or 2 hours, 40 minutes, whatever it is. It's a long time. Anyway, so, again, this was annoying, just like the backdoor pilot thing. However, I accepted it because, as I just stated, there's a lot, and I do mean a lot of positives here. So I'm going to start looking at my notes, and so for starters, it was absolutely wonderful to see John Wesley Shipp as the Flash again. One small little drawback was that, again, and this goes along with my rant about the Flash's current costume, nothing made that costume look worse than seeing it next to the 90s Flash costume, which looked fucking awesome. I'm super impressed at how good John Wesley Shipp still looks in that thing. It's been 28 years since he's put on that costume, so I'm blown away. Like a lot of people, I was very disappointed with the minimal use of the 90s Flash during this crossover. It was one of the things that I was looking forward to the most. They used him at the same capacity as they used the old Flash in Crisis on Infinite Earths, where he pops up in portals and stuff like that and is trying to warn the heroes of the danger to come. So I liked that reference, and this was yet another stab at the DCEU, because in the DCEU they tried to do that and they did it horribly. Here it had a lot of meaning, okay, because they were using a lot of elements from Crisis on Infinite Earths, and of course, you know, John Wesley Shipp is the original Flash. You fully accept him as the classic Flash, and him being the one to deliver the message. Also, interesting fact, the opening of this crossover with all the heroes of Earth 90 dead and the Flash being the only survivor, that was supposed to be the first scene of the 90s Flash show. That's how it was supposed to start. Flash is the only survivor of this horrible thing that happens, and he travels to the future where heroes are illegal, and that's where the show takes place, and he teams up with Green Arrow's daughter to fight crime in the future. That's what the show was originally supposed to be, but it was so expensive and so out of scope that the network asked Danny Bilson and Paul DeMeo to scale it down. So it would be you could actually afford to shoot such a show. So I think it's just wonderful that we live in a day and age where such a scene is 100% possible on a weekly TV budget. That's amazing. It is a fantastic time to be a fanboy or fangirl. For those of you who didn't catch it, John Deegan, the villain in this, John Deegan, or John D, is Dr. Destiny from DC Comics. He is the Freddy Krueger of DC Comics. He attacks you through your nightmares, or traps you in your nightmares. There's a fantastic Justice League episode called In Dreams, I believe. Feel free to correct me as to what it's actually called. With the character in it. Check it out. It's really, really good. But if you're wondering why he looked the way he looked at the end of this crossover, it's because he is resembling his comic book counterpart, okay? So for those of you who didn't catch that. I loved how the moment that Oliver saw himself as Barry Allen, the Flash, he immediately blamed Barry.
Oh, Barry. What have you done this time?
Amazo being there, holy shit, what a great fan moment. Here's the thing, when this whole franchise first started, the reason I kept watching it is, even though the original season and a half of Arrow was so inaccurate and removed from the comic, is because every great now and then they would throw you what I like to call a DC bone. They would show you something straight out of the comics, perfectly recreated, that would keep you watching. Whether it was the original Sarah Lance version of Black Canary, Deathstroke, something. And this, little by little, this kept getting bigger and better. And it went from the occasional DC bone to just pure DC comics. Here, I felt like this whole crossover was just ongoing, delicious, sugary DC goodness, just all the way through. It felt like a true blue DC Comics story where anything could happen, anybody could show up, and it was wonderful. The fact that they met Batwoman and they were in Gotham, and there were so many references to the Batman mythos, and then Superman shows up and fights a evil doppelganger of himself, just pure fucking DC Comics. Lois Lane, Martian Manhunter, my favorite Martian. It's my mom's Christmas present for me. Just felt wonderful. It's the type of thing I would have loved to have seen as a kid. I wish that, like John Wesley Shipp's Flash, I could travel back in time through a portal and reassure my younger self that there's some awesome shit to come. And that you will be old enough, you will grow old enough to live in a time where the media that you love, the comics and cartoons that you love, will be 100% accepted by the general population. Young ERod, you will no longer have to hide the things that you love and are passionate about and are bullied for liking. And here it is, like a full-blown, crazy, high-concept sci-fi DC story. The kind that I used to read when I was a kid in live action on my television. That's wonderful. What a gift has Greg Berlanti and the amazing teams that work on these shows have given us. And I will always be grateful. I'm also grateful that they finally explained where the bathroom is in the pipeline where you used to keep all the metahumans in the Flash. Also grateful about that. One of my few tiny itty bitty little complaints about Crisis on Earth X was that we didn't get enough interaction between Barry and Oliver. That was remedied here. It was just 2 solid hours, when you remove the commercials, 2 solid hours of these two great characters interacting and trying to solve these problems together. And demonstrating that even when they're not at their best, even when they don't have their powers, they're still heroes, and that was wonderful. Throw in Supergirl into the mix, even better. But this episode, this crossover, at least the first 2 chapters, reminded me of the episode of Teen Titans that made me a fan of that show, Switch, the episode where Starfire and Raven switch places, and they have to learn to understand each other in order for them to function with each other's powers. It was the same thing here. I liked the idea of them having to express opposite emotions to use each other's skills, but I'm gonna have to call just a little bit of bullshit there, because in the Season 2 Flash episode, Reverse Flash Returns, I believe it's called, when Barry sees that Eobard Thawne is back, he gets really pissed and beats the shit and outruns and beats the shit out of Eobard Thawne like that. And he's angry. He nearly kills the guy. So Flash being better or more powerful when he's happy, sure, I'll buy it for now. While Oliver is has Flash's powers, I'll accept it. But that was not the case in that one particular episode. So what are my thoughts of Elizabeth Tulloch playing Lois Lane? Well, she's no Terry Hatcher, she's no Dana Delaney, but I like her. I like her. She's very likable. She has a little bit of a Margot Kidder quality to her, but just very cute, very spunky. I liked her. If this Superman show ends up becoming a reality, I'll check her out. I'll definitely check it out. One of the things that I know they have going in is that there's definite chemistry between her and Tyler Hoechlin. So at least there's that. Also at the very end there, cute brunette with a magic hammer. I find that appealing somehow. Not sure why. Anyway, moving on. They gave Stephen Amell more chances to be funny. Sometimes it fell flat, but sometimes it worked. My favorite Amell funny moment in this was when he meets Superman and he was puffing out his chest. That was great. Second favorite was when Barry, as Oliver Queen, tells Batwoman, Kate Kane, that he would never compare himself to a total badass like Batman. And Amell's reaction was just delicious. Look at his face was excellent, because I'm sure that as the actor who plays Green Arrow, he gets compared to Batman way too fucking much. I like how they gave explanations to why Batman has been missing this whole time, even though Batman was the original vigilante. I like that. There's a theory going around that the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy actually is part of the Arrowverse, because at the end of that trilogy, Batman retires. So that explains why he's not around here. And they also showed Bane's mask in Arkham Asylum. This fucker. Oh! Hold on, let me throw him on the ground. Fuck him. I hate that character. Sorry, Tom Hardy. Anyway, yeah, I know. And have you noticed that they reference almost every Batman except for the Ben Affleck one? And don't tell me that Kara referring to Batman and Superman as frenemies is a reference to BVS. It isn't. That Batman and Superman have always had a tumultuous relationship. Watch the animated series if you don't believe me. So, thoughts on Ruby Rose as Batwoman? Yes, I 100% agree that her American accent needs some work. Okay? I heard it too. Alright? Gotcha there. Fucking love her. Okay? Would definitely watch. I've never been a fan of Batwoman as a character. Never just like take her or leave her. She was fucking there. Whatever. Don't care. But I really dug her as Batwoman in this. And I'm going to say something and I might catch shit for saying it, but I don't give a fuck. Ruby Rose was more like Batman in 2 minutes than Ben Affleck was in 2 movies. I'll leave it there. So yeah, in fact, when she left at the end, I was like, oh, she's leaving, and I was really disappointed that she wasn't involved at the end, but honestly, it didn't make any sense for her to be involved in that final chapter. That was Superman's chapter. Oh, and another thing that I pointed out on Twitter was how every time the male superheroes meet, they fight. They always fight. So I was hoping that when Supergirl and Batwoman met, that they would become instant friends, and it happened. Oh my god, it happened. And that's one of the things that I love about the DCW universe, is that it embraces that classic camaraderie that superheroes had when I was a kid, when I was a little kid, but then in the 90s, in the era of extreme and violence and shock factor, where Batman gets his back broken and Superman gets murdered by Doomsday. During that era, you know, the relationships between superheroes became very toxic for some reason. And the whole idea of when they meet, they have to fight began. So I'm always so happy that in the DCW universe, they always embrace that camaraderie. When Supergirl meets the Flash, they're instant friends. When Supergirl meets Batwoman, boom, they hit it off instantly. They shake hands. They're the world's finest BFFs. Holy friggin' Christ. That fight scene where they both, Arrow and Flash, were infected by the Scarecrow's fear toxin, and they thought they were fighting Eobard Thawne and Malcolm Merlyn. Wonderful. Also really good to see John Barrowman again. I miss that guy. But wonderful. Just great idea. I feel that this crossover was a wonderful, excellent, kick-ass sequel to the first crossover. It's like it was their anniversary. It's like they were celebrating that the first time that they crossed over in Flash vs. Arrow. And there was a lot of throwbacks, a lot of callbacks to that crossover. Barry shooting Oliver in the back with remote control crossbows, and their fight scene with one another. And they did a lot of similar moves and struck a lot of similar poses that they did from that original fight. One of them being when Oliver punches Barry and Barry turns his head to the camera like this, and it's a really like tight close-up on Grant Gustin. Like, there was a lot of imagery that was subtly put in there that was from that original fight, and I appreciated that. And as somebody who loved that first crossover between the two of them, I really appreciated that. All the little nods, all the little references. yeah, it felt like a direct sequel to that, as opposed to another crossover that has nothing to do with what they've done before. So all these backdoor pilots, and look, if they make a Superman show with Tyler Hoechlin, I'd watch it. If they make a Batwoman show with Ruby Rose, totally would watch it. However, the one thing that they teased that I want more than those two shows, indefinitely, that I would gladly cancel one of the existing shows, except for The Flash, one of the existing shows, and replace it with, would be a Green Lantern show with David Ramsey playing Jon Stewart. And they cock teased us with that.
Hello, John. Do I know you? You're not wearing your ring. Things must be different here.
Oh my God, my heart almost fired itself out of my chest with excitement. It's like, there's another universe in the 90s, on 90s Earth, Earth 90, excuse me. John Diggle is Green Lantern. Fuck yes, make that into a show. I want to watch it right now. I'm going to stop right there. And I know that's something that a lot of fans theorized when John Diggle first appeared on on Arrow, but I never entertained that idea until that moment. And that also shows that the creators of these shows listen to the fans and their theories and what they constantly fantasize about. So that's really cool of them. So God, I hope that turns out to be true. Even if it's just one episode where Flash or Green Arrow travel to Earth 90 and they meet the GL, John Diggle. Oh my God, that would be kick-ass. And also, I am confident of the fact that David Ramsey could carry his own show if he wanted to. Tyler Hoechlin is the MVP of this crossover, okay? He had a lot on his shoulders, playing Superman, the chemistry with Lois, and playing the villain. And he was a kick-ass villain, Dark Superman or the John Deegan Superman. Excellent job. He blew me away with how much he took on and how well he handled it. So that right there should be enough proof to anyone, to any skeptics, that he could carry his own show if he wanted to. If he was allowed to, if he was given the opportunity to. So much respect to him. Not that I ever doubted him, but boy, that he impressed me even more than he did when he first appeared as Superman in the season 2 premiere of Supergirl. So good job, man, and I hope that everything goes your way and that you do get your own show and you get to show everybody just what you can do as this character, which unfortunately hasn't been done in the movies. We'll see. I also like how if there is a Superman show, it'll take place in Argos City, which will make it completely different from the existing Supergirl show. I like that. Please keep Supergirl the way it is. Don't make a clone show with Superman. Thank you. A lot of people keep asking me if it bothered me that the Legends of Tomorrow were not in it. Not at all. Not at all, man. The creators of these shows are the masters of putting together these crossovers. One of the things that made Crisis on Earth X work so well was that they just concentrated on telling a good story as opposed to making separate episodes of each show. It was just one cohesive 2-hour and 40-minute story. Beautiful. So once they figured that out, this year I was like, as long as they tell a good story, I don't care, okay? Whatever decisions they make, I respect. One of my favorite aspects of Crisis was seeing Flash, Supergirl, and Arrow working together. I have always wanted to see a crossover that was just the three of them. They gave me that. Unfortunately, they had to remove the Legends, and yeah, I would have loved to have seen them be a part of this, but quite frankly, this was better and more cohesive and more fluid without them. It already had a lot of characters in it. We didn't need 6, 7 more characters in this. Make it more complicated. I feel that this was nice and tight, especially for such a complex story. So, yeah, I don't feel bad that the Legends weren't in it. Besides, the Legends have a season-long crossover with Constantine, so there you go. I wish that when Deegan created that second reality from that final chapter when Barry and Oliver were criminals, I wish it would have been something more DC-related. I wish they would have become criminals that we are familiar with, even if it's criminals without powers. Don't know what was the deal with the Grease Lightning outfits that they had going on there. They look like extras from Grease, but whatever. Those costumes are still better than the current Flash costume. Oh! Second burn, a lot of things in these shows, and I point this out a lot, and people say, that's not true. It is true. Shut up, it is true. There's a lot of FU moments to the DCEU. A lot of DCEU FU moments. I pointed out how in one of the previous season finales, I want to say season 3 finale of Supergirl, how they recreated the battle between Superman and Zod, and Supergirl stopped it like that, without having to destroy the city or break anybody's neck. And to me, I was like, that was a legitimate to the DCEU. Here, they recreate the moment when Superman is going to break somebody's neck. Green Arrow feels that the only way to stop it is killing Superman with a kryptonite arrow, and he doesn't kill. Green Arrow, the guy who murdered everybody in season 1, doesn't kill. And to me, again, that was a DC, like, fuck you, DCEU moment. If you didn't interpret it that way, that's perfectly fine, but that's the way I see it. And there's quite a few moments, like, again, Batwoman and Supergirl meeting and completely getting along, 100% getting along, as opposed to trying to murder each other like Superman and Batman and BVS. Again, that's the way I'm interpreting it. If you choose not to interpret it that way, that is your opinion, and I respect it. The end. Famously, they from the beginning, from the very first episode of The Flash, they have been referencing Crisis on Infinite Earths, okay? The future newspaper that ERod and everybody's always looking at throughout the Flash series says Flash goes missing during Crisis. Okay? Flash goes missing. 2 characters famously died during this comic. The Flash and Supergirl. Yes, this is issue 7 of Crisis on Infinite Earths. I was there when it came out. I still have it. I saw that cover and I had to buy it. Okay, I couldn't believe they would kill off Supergirl, and they did. So those 2 characters are the ones that die in this storyline, and they reference that big time here. I love the idea that it was the one hero with no powers who stood up for them, who lobbied for their lives because the world needs them. For years, I criticized Stephen Amell for his quote-unquote bad acting. Last year, he started to impress me until Crisis on Earth X, when he had to play Green Arrow and Dark Arrow in the same episode, and he blew me away. He took on a lot, plus starring in his own series. And that's when I decided to buy his action figure, because he won my respect. I didn't think I could respect him or admire him anymore until I saw this crossover and his amazing speech speaking on the behalf of his 2 friends, his fellow superhero actors, Melissa Benoist and Grant Gustin. And it was beautiful, and it was very touching, and he did a fantastic job in delivering it. And if I was the Monitor, I would have made the same decision and spared the Flash and Supergirl. So good job, Amell. Just kick-ass job. A lot of people are questioning the whole, running around the world and freezing it. I am going to defend this. I think it would work if the Flash is involved. I don't think it would work if it was just Supergirl or Superman spinning the world in opposite direction. The reason I think it would work with the Flash is because the Flash controls the Speed Force. With his power combined with Supergirl's power, his Speed Force aura could potentially envelop the planet, and he could put the whole planet in Flash time. They didn't explain it that way, but that's the way I interpreted it, or chose to interpret it, because it was really silly. I wish that this would have been the moment where the 90s Flash would have come in, and he would have been the one to run with our Flash around the Earth, and they're using their Speed Force to envelop the planet, or possibly call the rest of the Flash family, Kid Flash, Nora, Jesse Quick, and you running around the planet together and creating an aura. But it is a crossover special. Supergirl is more important than them, no offense. So I respect them using Supergirl instead. Plus, again, like I said, the 2 characters that are supposed to die are Barry Allen and Kara Zor-El. So there you go. Another little minor complaint. I love that they brought Amazo back for the climax, but then he was defeated off screen. I can buy that Brainiac 5 is smart enough to figure out a way to defeat him on his own. Show it. Just fucking show it. That's all I'm asking, okay? I'll buy it, but just show it, please. This is television, not radio with pictures. Moving on. No, I was not ignorant to the fact that we had not one, not two, but 3 of the original founding members of the Justice League. I'm having trouble holding this. You can tell I didn't rehearse this. 3 of the founding members of the original Justice League together on screen at the same time. All right? I know it's silly. I know it was simple, but again, that was another moment that was a delicious, sugary DC treat to see those 3 together. The question remains, what did Oliver trade the Monitor, or give to the Monitor, or offer the Monitor for him to spare Kara and Barry? Could Arrow Season 8 be the last season of Arrow? Will the twist in Crisis on Infinite Earths be that it is Oliver Queen who sacrifices himself to save the multiverse and not Barry Allen or Kara Zor-El? It might just be. A lot of people are pissed that Black Lightning wasn't a part of the crossover yet again. Guys, please, Jesus. Black Lightning is shot in Atlanta. The other 4 DCW shows are shot in Vancouver. That's how they can cross over so easily all the time. Okay, it would be very costly and very complicated to include the cast of Black Lightning in any of these crossovers. Could they potentially show up in Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover next year? Maybe. I hope so. I want to see them crossover. Will this, in the original one, all the multiverse was converted into one universe, one DC universe. Could this potentially mean that they, the Super Earth 38, where Supergirl lives, will now be a part of the just regular DCW universe, and so will Black Lightning's Earth or whatever? We'll find out, okay? We'll see. But for now, just be patient with them. Black Lightning was supposed to be on a whole other network, okay, when it was produced. That network lost interest, and thankfully the CW picked it up. And Greg Berlanti came in as producer, okay? So just be grateful that Black Lightning is on the air, because it was never supposed to be. But nobody wants a crossover between Black Lightning and the other DCW shows more than me, okay? And it definitely takes place in the same universe. It's just a crossover thing. It's just very complicated right now. So please stop complaining about that. They're doing the best that they can. They know that we want it. I especially would love to see Black Lightning crossover with Arrow, okay? And I agree with a lot of people. It really felt like Superman and Lois Lane hijacked this crossover the way Felicity hijacked Barry and Iris's wedding last year. Very much. It became a little too much about their relationship. And call me crazy, but when Lois reveals that she's pregnant and Superman asks her to marry him, it felt 100% justified, even though we just officially saw those characters together 2 episodes ago. Okay? It's just, we know these characters so well. We've seen them together for so many years. We've grown up with them. So it felt 100% natural. So once again, major respect to Elizabeth Tulloch for giving such an amazing performance and for having such incredible chemistry with Tyler Hoechlin, that you fully believe this, that these two had this amazing history, even though we just saw them together for the first time on screen 2 freaking episodes ago. So all around, I enjoyed it. In spite of all my complaints, I enjoyed the hell out of it. Excellent job to all the actors, especially Stephen Amell and Grant Gustin, who really carried this crossover. Their shenanigans together were wonderful. And the only thing, the sprinkles on the sundae, it was already a delicious ice cream treat, but the sprinkles on the sundae was Melissa Benoist. She has a magic about her where she makes things that are already good greater. So those are my thoughts on Elseworlds. If you want to know my thoughts on the current seasons of all the DCW shows, as soon as they are over, I will be posting those on my Patreon page. So if you're not a patron, You might want to sign up right now because very soon in the future I'm going to start posting a lot more videos on there, bonus videos that I don't post anywhere else. How do you do that? If you're not a patron, you go to patreon.com/ERod and you pledge $1. That's it. With $1 you're helping me continue to produce the Blockbuster Buster, and in return you get bonus videos. You're going to get to find out my full thoughts on the current seasons of all the DCW shows in this coming year, in just a few months. Alright, thank you so much guys. Thank you so much for humoring me. Feel free to discuss and give your opinion in the comment section below. Please be civilized. Do not fight each other because we are all on the same team. Thank you for your ongoing support. You guys are awesome. You guys are my superheroes because I could not do what I do without you.